And because the army exists of that kind, we must choose to turn our frustrations into hope. The kind of hope that believes that every victory against corruption is within reach and inevitable. So let us keep up the good fight. And let us keep growing our ranks by enlisting new fighters. For those who are with us are more than those who are against us.
Corruption is not just a fight, it is an issue that goes beyond it. That is perhaps why, in the ending year, the talk about corruption has dominated various narratives. Though profile corruption cases entered in courtrooms, a substantial number of suspects, however, earned bail, and that is the case. Others have, however, argued that the challenges have rather been structural. For instance, the Anti-Corruption Bureau continued operating without a fully recruited Director General, and this was since the former boss Mphatso Chikalipo left the institution a year before. Despite the bureau being headed by an acting DG Hilary Chilomba, it has struggled with little funding, and its independence was a bit questionable. Nonetheless, the ACB facilitated profile cases like of Joseph Mwanamveka, who was in January arrested in connection to the alleged fraud of over 440 million kwacha at Greenbelt Authority, reviewed in a 2023 audit report at Salima Sugar Company. He was arrested alongside other senior DPP officials such as Collins Magalasi and Cliff Chiunda. Fate had it, all these suspects are now holding key government positions with court bails in their pockets. It followed their party's win on 16 September elections. This was not only case which Mwanamveka, who is now the Minister of Finance, answered in the year, because him, alongside UTM President Dalitso Kabambe and Chiunda, were accused of conspiracy to use public office for personal advantage and money laundering. They were facing accusations related to the alleged abuse of 11.4 billion kwacha in COVID-19 funds. 2025 also started as a nightmare to the current Minister of State, Alfred Gangata, who spent 2 days in custody for allegedly uttering a false document, purportedly from Malawi Revenue Authority, MRA, on tax records. He, however, pleaded not guilty to 4 charges of falsifying tax records, forgery, uttering a false document, and concluding a transaction without a tax clearance certificate. According to the charge sheet, Gangata, between July 2017 and June 2018, allegedly prepared and used a falsified tax clearance certificate bearing the name Alfred Ruani Gangata, trading as Master Security Services, to meet the bidding process requirement advertised by Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources. But the future of the case is now hanging just like of Mwanamveka. Sattar's high-profile international bribery scandal that involved the UK-based businessman and other top Malawian officials continued in the year before abruptly ended in its course. It continued to face legal hurdles in 2025, primarily concerning the admissibility of evidence sourced from the UK's National Crime Agency, NCA. The legal deadlock slowed the case and highlighted challenges in international legal cooperation. That aside, in May, the ACB suspended the Ministry of Health's recruitment process for health surveillance assistance across the country due to allegations that officials were demanding bribes up to 500,000 kwacha from job seekers for favorable treatment. But the future of this case, too, is on mute. When the year was close to the finish line, in December, the MRA came under scrutiny for its intention to award 5.4 billion kwacha in security service contracts to 3 firms, including one owned by the Minister of State, Alfred Gangata. This raised legal and ethical concerns as the minister's firm was allegedly subject to MRA-initiated legal proceedings over tax issues. The move stirred public anger, and Human Rights Defenders Coalition, through its chairperson Michael Kayatsa, called for more investigations on the matter.
The company that was previously being prosecuted over tax clearance issues. Now that issue has not been completed, it is still in court. And one of the lawyers who was representing this company was appointed recently as the Commissioner General of MRA, which already raises the red flag. We want to ask the MRA to explain what were the procedures that were followed. How was the issue of potential conflict of interest addressed? If that can be answered in a clear manner, we do not have a problem.
Overall, good governance advocates were not satisfied with the strides that Malawi made in the fight against corruption in the year. One of them is Moses Mkandawire, who said the fight wasn't won because the attention shifted to the September elections while giving a room for corruption to gain weight.
2005 was a little bit of a challenge given the elections that were involved in, and almost everybody was geared towards addressing issues of elections to ensure that we elect individuals at all levels, be it at the councillorship level, MP level, as well as presidential level, and such that when it comes to the actual fight against corruption was a little bit slowed down because of this big activity that we're involved in.
Talking of the September elections, the observation report of Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation, CHRR, revealed widespread mismanagement of public funds by the ruling party during the polls. Kayatsa brought to task the Anti-Corruption Bureau to investigate those behind the alleged looting. However, ACB said it was unaware of such recommendation.
We observed during this election process that the abuse of state resources continues, and it's important that this challenge should be addressed. We need to look at our laws, particularly those related to political campaigning, so that there's a clear demarcation between state and the political party events, because we have noted that in most cases that line is blurred, and as a result we find that some political candidates are giving themselves unfair advantage, which is contrary to the spirit of fair competition, but also leveling the playing field.
Undoubtedly, Malawians would have liked to see a good pace taken in the ended year, especially on the fight against the deep-rooted grafts. But according to a Lord action, power trained to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is where the fear lies on whether the ACB could absolutely develop a sharp teeth to bite those corruption suspects who are now holding absolute power in the new government machinery. In the eyes of Moses Mkandawire, a good governance expert, this would be a tough call.
In civilized societies, individuals that believe and practice integrity, one is that they would ask the appointing authority to say, look, there are these allegations. I don't think that I will take up this position up until my name is cleared. We've seen it in a number of countries, Germany, Netherlands, and many others. And in that way, you promote the accountability that we talked about. But given the situation in much of Africa, and particularly in Malawi, it's a little bit of a challenge because we don't believe in integrity. Secondly, on the scene is that, yes, it might be difficult, honestly, for the investigators, be it in SCB or elsewhere, to go and investigate those who are seen to be leaders or people with power and authority. It's a little bit of a challenge, and even to take matters to the courts and other justice system mechanisms, it's a little bit of a challenge given that lack of integrity that we have.
However, the Anti-Corruption Bureau insists that its mandate remains intact through some of its suspects are now government gurus. The former American president once said corruption is a cancer that eats away at a citizen's faith in democracy. It is therefore imperative to keep the fingers crossed and that government should demonstrate seriousness in hitting back on corruption. The speech by President Peter Mutharika on his inauguration gives some sort of relief, but only if duly followed to heal this cancer.
That now we are in the government and now we are going to be rich is what is destroying this country. Government is not a feast. Government is not a political party. Government is not a nightclub. Being in government is about serving the people. To change our situation, to create jobs, and to help everyone prosper in their businesses, farming, or education. It is that feasting spirit, it is that DDA spirit that is destroying this country. And from today onwards, the practice of TDA is gone. I find you looting the government, whether you're a politician or a civil servant or a businessman, you are done.
But as you will have noted, the fight against corruption does not require any rhetoric again. So 2026 will certainly be a year when the venom against corruption will have to be seen in its spit.